Go! Go!
Welcome back to another episode of Slide Bite. So I know I'm kind of late on this one, but I feel like I have a pretty good reason for actually being late on this. I know that this particular pistol came out a year ago, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. So what we're taking a look at is the SigAir M17 made by SigAir and VFC. This is actually kind of interesting. VFC tends to get around quite a bit, don't they? Yes, so from what I've heard, VFC is kind of signed a exclusivity deal in terms of SIG products. So what that means is that they get exclusive licensing to that brand. So that means any SIG gun that we see from here on out is more than likely going to be made by VFC, or at least OEM'd by VFC. One of the first things to roll off their lines, aside from the MCX, is the M17 here. The M18 is actually out as we speak, and you know what? These are actually quite nice. Of course, they're based on the new US Army standard service pistol. So before I get ahead of myself, like always, I want to give a huge thank you to Airsoft Extreme. They've been very helpful in letting me shoot all that cool shooting footage and get to put this thing through its paces, essentially. I actually did buy this at Airsoft Extreme when it came out. They were one of the first retailers to actually get this in stock. So if you want to take a look at their selections, I'll be leaving a link in the description down below to their website. They also got stores all across California, so give them a look-see when you can. Another huge thank you to user Double Down on the Airsoft Discord server for essentially providing me more info on this pistol, along with a concerning issue with the CO2 version. What I have here is the green gas version, which we'll be using as our baseline. Plugs out of the way, let's go ahead and quickly talk about the gun. So from what I heard is that these guns, right now, they're pretty decent. VFC is well known for making nice exterior finished guns, and as you can see here, it's in this nice tasty looking peanut butter. It's a black like detailing on it, and it's a pretty nice pistol, just looking at it. The M18, which is brand new, actually is a shorter version of this, and they'll both function the same. So this review can be used as an extension on the M18 as well. Like always, we're going to take this to the table. I'm going to field strip this and tell you any interesting quirks about the mechanics of the gun. If you don't want to listen to that, I will be leaving a timestamp right now to after that. So I just talk about performance and handling. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take this to the table and see what this thing's got. Alright, so we're on what I questionably call a table, and here we have our M17. And to quickly go over dimensions, it is 10 by, it's about 10 by 8 inches, going from height to length. So it's got a bit of space that it takes up. With the M18, which is what this is based off of, the only difference is the slide. So the slide is actually flush with the frame, and it also comes with a flat or flush magazine as well. So quickly going over trades for those of you who want to collect this thing. It's got the SigAir M18 on this side, not on the other side, just this side. And on the sides here, it's got the SigAir logo. So that's quite nice, actually. You have your chamber marking, you have your manufacturer logo and your serial number, like so. And then you have some Airsoft jargon that's conveniently hidden in a bit of Picatinny and on the bottom right here. Looking at the mag real fast, it is a 24 round double stack magazine with a single feed lip at the top. There's an interesting concern about this, which I'll go over later. You also have your SIG logo on the floor plate right there, and this really large piece of, well, floor plate. So And on this side, you also have witness holes for about 21 rounds, which is almost accurate actually, given that this can carry about the same amount, a little more. Anyways, so going over pistol functionalities, you have your iron sights that are actually quite nice. So you got your traditional 3-dot like every other pistol. You have your trigger, you have your magazine release, pretty standard. And then you have your ambidextrous slide release and safety, which this can be used when the gun is fired or if the striker is primed, that sort of thing. You also have a pre-cut RMR base, which is also part of the rear irons. So if you're going to put an RMR on this, you need a adapter plate, and it will take off the rear irons. So iron sights will be kind of useless. Aside from that, you also have a chamber indicator right here. So if the gun was empty, it would technically stick up a little bit. This isn't spring loaded, this is just held in by gravity, and it kind of just does its own thing there. So aside from that, that's your M17. Yes, you also have serrations on the front and the back, so you can do press checks. Interesting training pistol, honestly. And yeah, you also have your Picatinny for putting flashlights and that sort of thing. There's no threaded barrel on this. I'm pretty sure that you can get that as an aftermarket part. Okay, so before we take apart the pistol, there's an actually interesting feature about the gun, which is its pseudo toolless hop-up. Now, what do I mean by that? So if I was to pull the gun, the slide back, you can see that the guide rod is kind of got that two-prong look there to it. So if I was to get a pair of pliers, or if I use the tool that came with it, this can actually turn and adjust the hop-up. If I can get the lighting on this correctly, you can actually see it says up on the guide rod there. So yeah, this is a pseudo toolless. I can theoretically just manhand this and twist it really hard, but that's, for me, I can't get a good grip on it. So yeah, that's actually really cool. And this is, in my opinion, an evolutionary step. So if I eventually get my hands on the VFC 1911, you'll notice that they did the same thing, except unlike needing a tool, you actually adjust it with your bare hand. That's a toolless hop-up. It's really nice. It's really neat seeing VFCs start to move over into toolless hop-up units so that you don't need any fiddling with tools or stuff like that. Okay, so now that we have gone over everything, let's go ahead and quickly take this thing apart and show you the insides of it, I guess. And also just quickly field strip it so that if you ever own one of these and you're curious how to take it apart, you'll know now. So first, you just pull the slide back all the way till it locks open, like so. Then you just pull down on this takedown lever and pull the slide off. So from here, we'll take a look at the slide, and we'll just quickly take the guide rod out and the hop-up adjusting tool. And you can see the gears on it that adjust the hop-up. That's actually kind of neat. From here, we can also pull the barrel out. There we go. And that's pretty much it. There's a issue with the loading nozzles that we'll go over before we switch over to performance and handling. And actually, we can go a little further with the frame. So this is basic field stripping, but we can go a little further. So from here, if I pull the takedown lever and put it off to the side here, you can take out this trigger group. So if I just simply pull it out, you now just have a simple frame, and you have your trigger group right here with your serial number. And that's pretty cool. So this is kind of emphasizing that modular pistol system that the US Army wanted, and you can kind of see how they replicated it in the Airsoft version. So essentially you can switch out frames, you can switch out different components if you want, different slide lengths, barrel lengths, so on and so forth, without really needing any tools. That's actually really nice. If you want to detail strip this, well, you take it to an armorer, or you detail strip this when you're at home. Okay, so that's your field stripped M17. I'm gonna go ahead and quickly put this thing together, and we're gonna also talk about the issue with these guns. So more specifically, the CO2 guns. So if you have been shopping around for these for a while, you may have heard about these guns' loading nozzles exploding. And there is some truth to it, and well, a lot of truth to it, and there's a good reason, in my opinion, why that's happening. So if you can see here, that is your loading nozzle right here. This is all plastic. This is generally the industry standard. And what I've been hearing is that when you pull the trigger, it explodes. Okay, well, why? And I think it has to do with this piece of plastic and the magazine. If you see how the gun is made, you can see how the magazine's follower is riding kind of high. What I'm assuming is happening is that the loading nozzle is slamming into that follower at a high rate of speed, especially on the CO2 version, and I'm assuming that the engineers who made this weren't accounting for the undue stress on this. So what would happen is that this would essentially pull it down and cause a little bit of undue stress. So over time, as you continue to drop the slide on that follower, aside from the standard wear that they're used to for the gun pulling up BBs, it would cause a hairline crack and eventually cause the gun to fail. And that's my assumption on it. I'm not sure if that is the official reason for the failures, but it seems plausible, at least from what I'm seeing. And that's pretty much our M17. So we're going to go ahead and take this over to performance and handling and go over what it's like to actually run and how it feels in the hands. So I'll see you guys there. Right, so now that we're back from the table, let's go ahead and quickly talk about the handling of the gun. And surprisingly, this gun is pretty comfortable. Now, it's not as comfortable as the PPQ or the VP9 or any type of polymer frame handgun where it has those nice pistol or those finger grooves on the front. It does the job just fine. This is meant to fit everyone because it's a standard service pistol. It handles comfortably in my hands. I can easily wrap my hand around it, and my thumb rests very comfortably on this little thumb slot right here. Control wise, pretty simple, pretty easy to remember. The slide release is in the same location as the 226, and it's kind of reminiscent of a 1911 in terms of safety, because the 1911 has the safety in the exact same location. So I'm not sure if SIG was trying to do a homage to that or if they were already doing this back then. But it just seems kind of coincidental in my opinion. So I guess for those who are training with the M45 can switch over to this a lot easier. Safety wise, it's crisp. It snaps into place very nicely. It's very responsive in terms of the clicks. Very stiff though. I still need to break that in quite a bit. Trigger is actually really heavy on this. If I was to go ahead and ghost the trigger right now, yeah, that's about 5-6 pounds. It's not exactly an airsoft competition match trigger where the moment you touch that trigger it goes off. This is heavy. This is got like a spring in it to imitate the same amount of pull that you need to fire the actual gun. And it's kind of a nice touch, but in terms of actual usage, it could be detrimental. To each their own, and it depends on the situation. Now, there is one slight issue with the ergonomics of the gun, and that doesn't really have to do with the overall ergonomics. It has to do with the mechanical part of the gun. And what I mean by that is the the mock chamber indicator on the gun that's supposed to indicate that the gun is empty or something like that, or if there's a round in the chamber. What will happen is that if I go ahead and slightly move it up like so, you can see there that the chamber indicator is sticking out like a sore thumb. What I noticed would happen is if I'm aiming down, sometimes it would stick up and it would block my front sight block when I'm aiming down sights. And it's kind of annoying because it's a black rear sight, and when this sticks up, it just kind of acts like a giant black wall, so you can't see where you're aiming at anymore. Bit of an annoyance, but I'm pretty sure if I just taped that down, it would solve my issue just fine. But overall, it handles quite nicely. Aside from that one hiccup, I can see this being a very popular gun, especially for those in the milsim community who want to run this as a as your standard sidearm. especially if you're going for as close to realism as possible. Okay, so now that we're done talking about how the gun handles this, just quickly go over performance, because truth be told, the gun's performance it's perfectly normal. What I mean by that is when you use this gun out on the field, it's going to perform like you want it to perform. It'll perform.
Shooter ready?
It's not going to
Stand by. Go.
Do leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the competition. It's perfectly acceptable. That said, the loading nozzle issue does kind of leave a large cloud hanging over your head, whether or not the next shot is going to cause your gun to explode. But bear in mind that this is for the CO2 version. The green gas versions actually live a lot longer, actually, in terms of parts lifespan, mainly just due to lower pressure. If you overgas this thing and just drive it hard with high weight BBs, yes, this thing's going to die a lot sooner than a guy who uses, .25s and moderately charges it. So in the end, do I recommend this specific pistol to you? Well, I would have to say yes under certain conditions. If you are going to use this as a milsim gun and just as a backup and not a primary, yes, I definitely recommend this to those type of people, because especially if you're going to be rocking, let's say, an M4 like so, this is going to rarely leave the holster, and that's not a bad thing. It's always nice to have a sidearm. And with that, that's pretty much it. Thank you for sticking this far. If you like what you saw in the video, all I ask is you like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'm getting kind of close to that 100 subscriber milestone, so well, you guys want to see me in that maid outfit, right? I've already selected the gun for that video, so hopefully it'll be here soon. And with that out of the way, thank you for all the support. And there's really not much to say. I'm gonna cut the video here to prevent myself from being cheesy. So with that out of the way, take care. See you in the next video.